so that it won't abruptly end that. All right, welcome everyone. Hey Rob, do you want to read this opening dialogue? Oh, and before we begin, I should mention, by the way, this is the American opening of the fifth biennial Grand Exhibition of Prompts. They already had the one in Paris. This is the, again, our online American version. The Parisians they're probably passed out by this point.
That's right. They had theirs. They were still going at about 5 this morning. I was getting awakened by text messages from Paris. So
yeah, you got to put them on silent. Real, I find that's my rule with much of Paris.
Well, on
so
party night.
let's so Rob, why don't you read our little intro text?
Since it's up there, I'll let people read it for themselves, but I'll just say that this was our netprov was in part inspired by these events that kind of convulsed the French visual art world in the 18th and 19th centuries up through the early 20th century, where for most of the 19th century, you would not be considered a professional artist unless you had work that was shown at this exhibition. It was like no one would pay for a painting of yours or a sculpture unless you had it shown there. So everything depended on it. And it's estimated that some 2/3 of the entire population of Paris would see that show, would walk through these huge exhibition halls and look at the paintings and sculptures every year. And so it was a huge kind of event, one of the biggest mass participation events of any kind in that whole culture. And with this focus on AI art, and the kind of possibilities and doubts and ways that it shakes our preconceptions about visual arts, we just thought that it would be fun to harken back to this older kind of anxiety plagued event, glory, failure, and anxiety plagued event. And refer back to it. So then the other thing I would say is that, as you probably know, one of the kind of foundational stories of avant-garde art making, both writing and any kind of arts making in our culture, is this moment where the Impressionist painters get rejected from the salon. Therefore, their careers are sort of over, and they say, fuck it, and they open a little storefront exhibition of their own called the Salon of the Rejects. And of course, as of now, they are the historical winners. The people who were exhibited in the big salon are mostly forgotten, and this Salon of Rejects are the people that are hanging in all the museums and in the art history books now. So it has that echo too. So back to you, Mark.
Very good. Now, speaking of text, Rob, I just saw your text where you said, Mark, please prepare some remarks for the beginning.
That's what we talked about.
So I just saw that now. So
okay.
But I know I like the idea. I want to give like a grand, like a speech or something, like an opening. If I need a little more. It just takes my process, like there's like, I got to get a massage, and then I got to go for a long walk. My students know this, and then I got to sit for a while. And okay, wait, but maybe we could just generate one or something like that. How about that? We'll just like go in and
I trust you.
All right, well, we'll go in and just try, I guess.
So what are you using there?
I'm going to use, this one, OpenAI, and see if I can get it to generate something for me on its playground. So this is GPT-3, I believe. So I could write a tagline for ice cream shop, but that's not what we need. We need write a grand, eloquent opening speech for the grand opening of the grand exhibition of prompts salon that makes reference to several art movements, including the Impressionists, the Surrealists, and the Dadaists. I don't know. Do we think that that's going to give me what we want?
Give it a whirl.
All right, give it a whirl. Now again, if I were a true magician, I would have tried this ahead of time, but unfortunately, I'm not. So let's just I'll just hit enter. I don't know, see if that does it. Nope, that is not what you do. I have to hit submit. Sorry, can't see my screen.
Yeah, they demand submission. It's a little power hungry.
All right, well, this is a little bit disappointing. Let's see if we can get something a little bit longer.
Well, read this to start with.
I'll read this one first. Welcome to welcome. I'll pretend it's my speech. Welcome to the Grand Exhibition of Prompt Salon. This is an event for artists of all kinds from all corners of the world to come and share their work with one another. We have gathered here to celebrate the power of creativity and imagination. The salon is a place for artists. All right, that's
and apparently not for speakers.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, let's tweak this prompt a little bit.
Go for it.
So let's write a long, eloquent opening speech for the grand opening of the Grand Expedition. Okay, what any other changes we can make to this? Anybody have any suggestions for how to improve this prompt? Because it's a little disappointing that our prompt is
self-important. Can you add an adjective self-important?
Long, self-important, eloquent opening speech, including mention of several art movements. The speech should also quote at least one famous artist.
Can we do like avant-garde artist?
Yeah, one famous.
Yeah.
Avant. Is it avant? Avant is this avant-garde? Have I written that right, or is it all one word?
Right. I would add female. One
Oh,
famous
good.
female
Yes.
avant-garde artist.
Yeah. All right,
Yes.
and my screen does not like this spelling, so maybe we do need that hyphen there.
The hyphen, yeah.
Okay, all right, so pretty good. We think that's
Yes.
going to do it. All right, let's see. Let's pull the little handle, because that's how we play. That's how we roll art these days. All right, let's see what we got now. All right, Rob, you want to read this one?
Ladies and gentlemen, art is about expression. It's about the artist's need to communicate their inmost thoughts and feelings to the world. And what better way to do that than through a visual medium? For centuries, artists have been using various mediums to express themselves. From the cave paintings
Okay, that's promising.
to nothing, apparently.
Apparently, I think we need this thing to be longer. Is really what we're getting into trouble here. And I'm gonna add a few more little tweaks. Let's make it a few more little things. Let's make it an opening poem.
There we go.
And let's make it a rhyming poem. Okay, there we go. This will do it. I have great confidence in this one. Let's see what happens. Pulling the handle, slot machine. Let's see what we get.
3 bells. We got it.
Okay, very good. So let's see how this goes. For too long, we have been shackled by the chains of convention, held back by the stale, the safe, the mundane. But no more. We are here to shatter the status quo, to challenge the way things have always been done. This is the Grand Exhibition of Prompts, a salon for the avant-garde, for those who refuse to be bound by the rules of convention, for those who see the world in a different light. We are the Surrealists, the Impressionists, the Dadaists. We are the ones who see the world in a different way. We are the ones who refuse to be bound by the rules of convention, and we are here to celebrate the work of our sisters, the women who have blazed a trail for us, the women who have shown us that anything is possible. So let us open the salon with a bang, with a burst of creativity, with a celebration of the avant-garde.
Awesome.
Woo,
Yay.
AI, good writing.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion of the avant-garde and the women.
Female
That's
artists as
awesome.
well.
Yeah, and the self-importance translates into we are the Surrealists.
Well, and in many ways that's true though, right, Rob? Since the AI is eating art, it's eating these art forms and pooping them out, then really, you know, we are the impressionists. We are the surrealists.
I like the digestive metaphor for AI. That's good.
Agreed. So we thought we would begin with a few things, obviously, to showcase some of the works of the people here. We'll give a little bit more of maybe a tour of this of the home for the exhibition, which was this Discord server. So you can have a look at it here. So again, for the future, since this will be preserved for the future, Discord is a small communal, or it could be large communal social media platform that is good for forum discussions, and it works on a model of servers. That's a hub where people can gather, and channels, so little threads of discussion. And it was originally popular with gamers, and now it is spread obviously all the way to the art world. So we have our channels over here. We have a welcome one. We have our directions on how to play. We have our artist introductions, where our various artist characters have made themselves known with a little introduction to them and their approach.
I love that home voice assistant. That's a great character name.
Oh, nice. We have our cafe, where we can have typical artist Parisian discussions and debates about the nature of art. We have the grand exhibition itself, of course, which we'll get to in a moment. We have our reflections for a little bit of meta reflections. And then there are 3 schools. Oh, Rob, can you mention about our 3 schools?
Yeah, the 3 schools are just, within the Paris context, the historical context, there was always sort of warring factions in the art world, the sort of neoclassicists against the romantics and all those kinds of things. So we just thought it would be fun to imagine what the prompt writers, the writers of prompts how they would divide into groups. So we just thought, emo, retro, and Fido. So emo being sort of high emotion, retro being interest in the past, real or imagined, and Fido a pet-based, as so much of internet communication is pet-based. So it's a pet-based.
Dogs playing cards. It wouldn't be art without dogs playing cards. And then we also, in addition, we had an open studio and daily themes that include topics like playfulness, regret, self-sabotage, happenstance, handmade, copycats, imposter syndrome, anti-machine art, codependence, calming vibes, return. What's this return one? I gotta see the whole title. Return without receipts, invisible art, unimaginable visions, and a final one of gratitude.
And just as a side note, I liked all of those, and I particularly love the invisible art and unimaginable visions one, because that kind of helped people get at the heart of one of the things that we were exploring in this netprov, which was to the difference between the verbal description and the image. Our brains are so lit up by visual imagery that it tends to overpower the word part, and there's sort of a driving force of like, it's all about the image, and the words are just a means to an end. But I would say the core concept of this project was like, well, what if we made the words the main thing? And so those two, I recommend that if you haven't already, the invisible and unimaginable ones, check out what's in there, because there's some amazing writing in there.
And just so again, since this is a little bit of a video for posterity, so people can see how this works, we have a bot that is living on this server. Of course, people could generate, in this moment, people have many options to generate AI art. They could use Craiyon, spelled with AI, Craiyon. They have Dall-E too, which is GPT-3 that we were just using. And we're using one called Midjourney, again, which sort of typically runs off of these Discord servers, bots. And to instruct this bot, you write imagine, which again, a really fraught term, or a really rich term, and then the word prompt. And then I don't know, does anybody want to throw out a pitch for a prompt for this invisible art? You can put it in the chat. You can holler it out. I don't know. I'm happy with whatever we want to use. I should actually open the chat, shouldn't I? Okay, well, I'll get us started. How about, well, again, in our true fashion, we don't really worry about the image being created.
No.
So let's put today I was late to the opening of the grand exhibition of prompts due to LA traffic caused by the infrequent, well, very infrequent moment of rain. Anything else we should add to this little prompt, folks?
In the style of a spaghetti Western.
Nice.
But are you trying to say traffic? LA traffic?
Oh yeah, not traffic.
Trafice.
Traffice. I've been learning some
That would be
Italian.
interesting.
In the
It was
South, spaghetti Western.
raining. It was raining cats and dogs.
Oh, nice. Raining cats and dogs for our Fido people, shout out. And then I'm gonna put ultra realistic. And these some of these are words that are typical for, and I'm gonna put cinematic lighting, which is my favorite of the.
That's right.
The
high octane. I love that. People always say high octane.
Oh, do they? Let's put that.
Yeah.
High octane. Do they run it together or just two words?
No, just that.
Okay,
perfect.
that should be good. Let's see what happens. Hopefully, I haven't used up all my credits, which may be the case. And now it's going to generate this like while we're sitting here, which again is sort of phenomenal.
Well, I think what's phenomenal is that we're so used to incredibly fast computers that we're unused to waiting. So even waiting a couple seconds seems unusual to us. But when you think of the level of computing power that's being arrayed in this, just the other thing, Mark, while this is coming in, this is kind of behind the scenes, but you said the Midjourney bots living on our server. I just wanted to say before the end of the day, just check out the accounting things on that. Midjourney's been ordering a ton of stuff on its room account. So it's like all its meals, and we didn't really budget to pay for its meals and stuff, but it's ordering like meals for four and having parties in the room. So we need to kind of get that figured out.
The Midjourney bot in this netprov made in its appearance early, and it seemed like it had some dalliances with autocorrect, or maybe it was in league with autocorrect. Was that
yes,
right, Rob?
Right, yeah.
Can you fill us in on
early on in the netprov. Yeah, I just I noticed right at the beginning of the project that Midjourney was sort of sitting very dejectedly and kind of smoking back on the loading dock at the back of our Discord server, and I wondered what was going on. And then somebody right away said, oh, they just had a bad divorce and they lost the house and everything. And it was like, okay, well, that explains it. And then we tried to get, because I know my autocorrect, my spelling corrector is like really been sad lately too. And I thought that they might form a little support group to help each other. And I like that idea of the various AIs supporting each other in a support group.
There's also a sub theme about pets, and thinking about Midjourney as that humans should be treated more like, if humans were treated more like pets, or if we treated humans more like we treat our pets, they would be treated much better. And that maybe Midjourney also needed to be freed up to the life of a pet. Now, one more thing, I'll just show a few things again for posterity's sake. So the way this rudimentary AI art generation program, I guess it must seem like that to you folks in the future. We can either upscale one of these if we'd like, or we can get versions. So if there's one that we could get a whole new set of 4 versions. Is there one of these that we like that we might want to see 4 new versions of? This would be 1, 2, 3, and 4.
I think 4.
Right,
I would, or no, sorry, 2.
Right,
I would see 2.
2 right here with this upper
Mhm.
right hand corner. Okay,
Yeah.
let's get new versions of that. So I'll just click on that and it'll get to work. I like the idea that it has to work on, like that we see its process. We see its artistic process as it I have no
Well,
idea what I have no idea what's happening in the code level there or in the software
but it's,
level.
yeah, it is interesting that they feed us work in progress because we're so impatient. It makes us feel like we're not waiting. Like the other ones, like Crayon, you literally have to wait and just look at
Ads.
a countdown.
You have to,
You know,
in my experience, you have to look at ads.
Like that's why I was thinking, like, if this got like really, really fast, imagine if you typed each word and an image showed up as you typed the words, so then you
Wow.
kind of see your image as you're kind of writing. I think
I mean, it seems like we're
That's an
not that
interesting
far from
thought.
that, to be honest.
Yeah.
So just go ahead, Rob. You were
I was
saying.
just gonna. I had to just blurt out that I've taught both art history and writing, and so with my art history hat on, there's so much to be written and thought about the visuals on this, and but I'll only make this a tiny parenthesis because we're really focused on the words, but there is a remarkable sameness and kind of cliched sameness to what people seem to like, because I'm sure the AI is learning from what people like and the ones that they ask for more refinements of. And there's a certain kind of dark, moody Harry Potter cinematography look that's just super consistent. And that's the thing I would say that surprises me the most about most of the images is that they're for the supposedly infinite variety of images that this could make. They're super similar. There is like just a record, and it's totally of our time. It's like it's not helping escape cultural cliches.
Yeah,
in
or cultural
general.
stereotypes, of course,
Yeah,
as
stereotypes and stuff. Yeah.
right.
The one
So
thing if we go,
the girl that's created is always a white girl, right?
yeah,
And then
exactly.
we go from there.
It's really yeah, sexist and racist because of the nature of the database. The interesting thing, if you go back to those book covers that were down below, or the magazine covers, one thing, I don't know if anybody's discovered this, but just the thing is, tell it to type certain say print this word, have a big version of this word painted in, and it can't get letters of the alphabet right very well.
Oh, that's interesting. It doesn't.
It's really not good. And Crayon is especially amazingly bad at doing letters and numbers, which I just think is super interesting.
I think these are Dall-E 2 images, so similar weird results. And these were inspired by Siobhan O'Flynn's Cthulhu Thanksgiving image. She's been experimenting with a lot of, again, we have a whole range. We have people who are leaning in heavily into the prompt side of things, and then we have some folks who are really honing their own skills of image generation, including Patrick Lichty as well. So
I have a question.
go ahead, yeah.
About like Rob was talking about, like the racialization and like gendered nature of AI. Is that due to people coding AI who have implicit biases, or is it due to society being racialized and gendered, so then AI looks at all of the images that are racist?
There's a lot of good, very recent scholarship about this. So if you search for essays, and people, really interesting feminist scholars have done stuff, but I would just say that from what I've read, it's mostly because of it's machine learning, right? Where you just set an algorithm loose on a giant database, and it's sort of what's in the database. And it's the same, it's a thing that people have been talking about for a while now, which is, if you search Google for beautiful, pretty white women show up, and it's the way the search engines have group, sort of organized, and the databases. But I don't know, other people may have better answers than that. But
yeah, I think that's a great answer. Yeah. And so I turn your attention to feminist AI with Christine Minders, turn your attention to the work of Sophia Noble, Ruha Benjamin, and others. And so when we get an intervention, right? Here's Kennedy's intervention. A camera slips through a black girl's hands, melting into dark particles that destroy her hands. I can't help but argue that it's also that we like to offload all of that bias to, well, we fed machine learning on our culture and this is what we got. But clearly, if you had different programmers on the team, right, they might notice these results sooner. And again, also the work of Joy Bull and Winnie in the Algorithmic Justice League. They work in this area a lot, and I highly commend their work and recommend it to everyone, of course. Now I should mention that this project was a netprov. Rob, do you want to say what a netprov is?
My sense is that probably most of the people in this current gathering know, but
for the video,
for the video, if I could share my screen.
Oh yeah, let me stop sharing. Stop my scrolling.
Momentarily. Yeah, so very quickly, hang on, there we go. So netprov could be defined as that. It's really, in a sense, the improv part from theater comes from commedia dell'arte, which is unscripted, planned, but unscripted theater performances that go back to ancient Greece. It's the only uninterrupted theatrical tradition in Western culture. Hilarious, satirical, biting satire. You could define it as that. It's also could be called that. And my most recent current formula is this. In my mind, it exists at this intersection of a lot of different creative practices and draws from all of them. And then it has come up with a few new things. And again, I should say always from the start, it's a name that I invented, but as a label for sort of other people's work and ours too. It's not like a brand name, or, Mark and I never claim to have invented it. It's something that's going on magnificently all over. Mark and I, with our literary backgrounds, simply ask the question. People are playing like this every day, constantly. You're probably doing it with your friends and text messages and stuff every day anyway. The question is, how good can it get? How can we make can we do this so well that it produces really kind of amazing, powerful works of art? And I think the answer is yes. So examples of kinds of netprovs, there's one that we love. We've done several times called 1 Week No Tech, and that's a good thing to do with your friends. You use this hashtag and you just pretend to go without technology for a week, and then you complain bitterly in whatever your social media platform is about how you hate it. So there's me getting away from it all. And you document yourself out in the woods and being away from the things. And we had all a Facebook group for that and other kinds of things. These are people showing what they do when they don't have their phones with them. This was a sweet little project that imagines something that's almost sure to happen at some point, is that some giant social media database is going to lose everybody's data, right? So this is a support group for those who lost their online social scrapbooks in the Memories Incorporated server fire and bankruptcy. And what Memories does is that people reconstruct their family photos using everyday objects, tabletop objects. So, salt and pepper shaker is grandma and grandpa, and you just compose it and write a little caption. And I think this is a precursor. I hadn't thought about this till just now, but this really is a precursor to the grand exhibition of prompts, because we realize that the basic unit of deferred asynchronous communication in our time is an image that travels with a kind of a caption or a text. It's an image in a text package. So this was a way of kind of focusing on this power and how everybody knows how to do that. Like nobody has to be taught how to take a picture and write a text that goes along with it. That's just everyday behavior in industrial societies. So here's a honeymoon couple in Hawaii, enjoying their honeymoon. There they are at the base of the volcano. Just a ballpoint pen and a little box of mints. Recently, we did a thing. We got fascinated by Wordle, the popular game, and so Mark developed a version of it that was completely frustrating. There was no sense to it. So we weren't necessarily interested in the game, but what we really loved about it, what we were focused on, is again, we love discovering these places where people are doing literally kind of creative writing. They're using their creativity in writing, but they don't consider it, has nothing to do with school, literature, anything. They're just being creative. And so what would happen if there was a frustrating version of Wordle? There would be a Reddit group where people in Reddit tried to figure out what the hell is happening and why doesn't it work and all this stuff. And so we were focused on that Reddit group, and people came up with amazing theories. One of my favorites was someone said it's kind of like a Ouija board. I think Grumple is helping me communicate with my dead husband, and it's a message. And so a lot of people started playing with this idea that it was a kind of an oracle or a way of communicating. We did a thing about where you played an influencer, and you played an influencer that gave relationship advice, but really shitty relationship advice.
Shallow,
yes,
at least.
it was because it was designed only to make it look good. Like the only advice that they would give is how to make your relationship look good. They didn't care how you were feeling or what else was going on in your world, but they would do that. We made a fitness app that was about the new sport of backstepping, which is, I don't know if you know, but walking backwards, much more healthy than walking forwards. And it was a fitness app that you never reached your goals. It just would constantly frustrate you and kind of like tease you and try to get you to do it. And so the backstepping was a metaphor for that. And, you know, just to wrap it up, it's like we always think, remember that now when you walk into a bookstore, you see it online, something's called a novel. Everybody knows it's been like, you know, 250 years that we know what a novel is, how it works. It's written as though it's about real people, but they're not real people. But when it first started being published, novels, nobody knew those rules. Those rules had to be negotiated. And so this book, mislabeled by its the short version of its name of just Robinson Crusoe, but this is the full title. I love it. It's a long rambling title because you have to explain what it is that what this book is. It was published as the truth, and it says, if you look down here, it says written by himself. Now we think of it as a novel written by Daniel Defoe, but it was published as Robinson Crusoe written by himself. And Defoe, the author, went to his deathbed maintaining that it was a real book by a real Robinson Crusoe, even though it's now known that he in fact wrote it, because he didn't believe anybody would read it if it was fake or if it was a fraud. So 20 years later, then in England, they had worked out what the rules of the game were, and they kind of knew what fiction was and how it works. I'm just going to end by pointing out something that our own Anna Nacher, who's here, helped us find, which is fantastic. So when Putin annexed the Ukraine, or maybe Anna, would you want to just do the quick explanation of this? Because I don't know how to pronounce the town name.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. The town's name is Kralowec, and that was kind of a massive performance, completely spontaneous, when Putin announced that his sham referenda in occupied Ukraine results were 99% of voters were in favor of joining Russia. So immediately after that, some Twitter users from Czech Republic and Poland announced that they're going to divide the Russian enclave of Kaliningrad, that is somehow that is separated from Russia, from main Russia, and it is a part of Russia that is actually at the Baltic seashore. So Polish and Czech Twitter users announced that they carried out a referendum there, and that 97.9% of Kaliningrad residents decided to join Czech Republic. And then, the whole mass performance sort of unfolded because people jumped on a bandwagon, and there was lots of Twitter profiles set up for the fake Kralowec institutions. For example, there was Kralowec Philharmonic, Kralowec National Theatre, and also the real-life institutions like Czech Railways announced that now, starting tomorrow, they're going to open this direct connection with now Czech Kralowec. And Rob, I checked it recently because yesterday I had 2 days ago, I had a talk here at Darwin Heckman's class about it. So I checked the latest developments, and actually there's a Wikipedia entry on Kralowiec, and it starts with the city of Kralowiec until 2022 Kaliningrad.
Oh, that's
former
that's beautiful.
known as Kaliningrad. So it's still
Still live,
That's
it's still
fantastic.
happening. Wow.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
I love that so many politicians, and I didn't know that the Czech Railway announced service to Kralowiec.
Yeah, and even Czech army announced that now they're open. I think Czech Marines outpost there.
Wow.
all kinds of.
That's beautiful.
It is just so great. And this is probably kind of small on people's screens, but I love this little map that this is this imaginary tourism site for Kralowiec. And on this map, it has, the various countries: Poland, Germany, Slovakia, Ukraine, and then instead of Belarus, it says Little Mordor, and then Russia is Mordor.
I love it.
Typographic,
and also
straight-faced.
And there's also yet another latest development. There is this app called Smart Guides that is, tourist map for European countries, and Kralowiec features there.
The real,
yeah.
I love it. And did you see that hashtag Make Kaliningrad Kralowiec again? Or I'm saying that wrong.
Make Kaliningrad Kralowiec again.
I mean, you can pronounce it anyhow.
It's beautiful. I love it.
So this is Anna's article about it in the electronic book review about that. If you want to,
highly recommend that article.
Yeah, it's really, really good. And then just a couple other quick examples that you undoubtedly people here know more about than I do, but the whole doubloon culture in TikTok, which is an imaginary currency, very interesting in the context of the collapse of FTX and the cryptocurrency world. And this is how, people inventing and talking about an exchange that, I don't know, people are doing all kinds of things with it, but it's mostly a kind of, at my understanding, is a generous thing on TikTok, where it's like you give people doubloons. It's like a sign of approval, but with a monetary metaphor.
I love it.
And people are doing that. Then of course everybody knows about, like, on Tumblr, people invented a non-existent Martin Scorsese movie called Goncharov. Have you heard about that? So they just pretend, and that's like super probably like one of the things that we love to do is to live tweet an imaginary TV show and just pretend we're watching it, and get a bunch of people, and you just pretend, and you kind of figure out what kind of show it is by what your reactions are. But this is just from a couple of days ago that Martin Scorsese acknowledges now he's just as the Czech Railways said announced service to Kralowiec. Martin Scorsese goes, oh yeah, I did Goncharov.
I love it.
This imaginary movie, and there's a whole culture about it, and people are making stills from it, and
so good.
There's that. And then more on netprov found in my book that is free online,
freely available for reading and download, or you can purchase it if you wish. So we'd be remiss if we didn't spend some time in the grand exhibition, because we have some of the artists here with us today. Yay. And I'd like to see if any of them would like to read us their prompt that they selected. And so I'm just going to scroll through, and now Malta couldn't be here, by the way, but Malta's hopefully watching the video afterwards. But I'm going to scroll to.
Yes, so please read your.
And Brad Skit, by the way, Alex Mitchell, who's in a different time zone altogether, I don't think is with us today, but certainly was a great player in this netprov, very active. So we got Tony, the flamingo philosopher, is here. Yay. And Tony, would you like, or Noah, Tony, would you like to read for us your prompt and share your artist statement?
Yes, I think it's good to know that I initially started out as a snail because I wanted to do a story, but the AI ended up showing like little dots. It didn't really show like a full snail. So I ended up evolving into a flamingo, and then at the end, I evolved into a seagull. So my prompt is it a coincidence that I ran into my ex-girlfriend at the Flamingo Club, even though she's a snail? Not sure. As I was partying the night away, I could see her in the corner of my eye. Surely there were things that could be said, but I wanted to avoid this situation completely. I ended up soaking into the music and dancing the night away. flamingos know how to have fun and they know more than one dance move. No, flamingos don't only just do the classic bend the knee. We also strut. So yeah, that's my prompt.
Chef's
Awesome.
kiss. And then, all right, now, and then share your artist statement. And then if you want to share anything else about your process or about,
Yeah, so I actually some of the prompts that I've been doing is like based on like real kind of experiences. So it feels as though I've been running into people I don't want to run into lately at like really random places around LA, which is
this is in real life. This is happening.
Yeah, like in real life, I'll just run, but it's like a lot of people, ex-best friends, ex-partners, so on and so forth. So I figured, I don't want to let it get to me, because like, even if you see someone maybe you don't necessarily want to see from your past, you're like, kind of, I don't know, maybe makes you start thinking and you feel like uncomfortable. So I just realized, like the flamingo, just like have fun and enjoy, and enjoy your time. So don't get too caught up in the past, enjoy the present.
I love it. Well, total snaps on that one. And again, that reminds me of Rob's other definition of netprov, which is the voluntary healing of necessary relationships. And again, one of the things I really encourage everyone when they're playing these netprovs is, again, to delve close it, play and go deep, but also to think about it as a way to work through in the most creative environment we could create for you guys. Whatever you need to process at that moment. Let's face it, there's a lot always.
Yep. And really nice. And thank you, Noah, for sharing that, because it's wonderful. And there it is in microcosm. That's the literature process, right? And hopefully what we aim to do for everybody, not just students, but everybody who plays netprov, is to remove that barrier of, oh, I am going to write a poem now. I am going to write a song which can just kind of, stifle that creativity. But by being this sort of silly form that's kind of in social media format, you shared really relatable, really human, really important things with humor, with intelligence, with gentleness. That's literature.
Absolutely. And JJ, you're here. Would you like to share your prompt?
Yeah, sure. So my prompt was, what is a dream? A dream is a cloud floating in the sky. The cloud can take any form, any shape, and can be interpreted in many ways. Lay in the grass and look up at the blue sky. The clouds float. They clash into each other to make new shapes. They evolve. The question is, will you chase the clouds, or do you think it's silly to do so and let them float on by? Or rather, will you chase your dreams, or will you watch as they pass you by?
Wonderful.
Love it.
And I love your artist statement too. Would you mind reading that?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So my artist statement is, after meeting my mom when she was younger and coming back from my adventure, I realized that life is what you make of it. I was often told that my dreams didn't put food on the table, so I let them go. To the person who is reading this, never let someone else dream for you. You have one shot in this life. Make it count.
Love it.
Awesome.
And JJ, of course, you are an artist. Does this have some deep resonances as well?
Yeah. So, from what I described in class is that I essentially made the person who is the opposite of me. We have very similar life experiences where, my parents weren't fully supportive of like the field I was going into. Originally I wanted to be an actor and they're like, you're not gonna make it, don't do that. So I decided to go into like the design portion of theater, so like maybe I can get more jobs. And so me personally, like, interestingly, the more that I'm away from them, the more pressure I feel to be successful, to like prove that I am in the right place and I am where I'm supposed to be, even though it's not going to necessarily make me rich or make me the most like famous person.
Right.
So I made Louis, and Louis is the opposite. They like didn't follow their dreams. Their relationship is more strained with their parents because they never fought back. But then they went back in time and met their mom, and they realized like, oh my god, my mom went through the exact same thing that I did, and I have to break the cycle. So yeah,
I love
that
it.
was my little guy.
I love it. And not to out you, JJ, but JJ is also a dungeon master, a
Oh
GM.
yeah.
And so I bring that up only in the context of again, that's something that Rob and I have been thinking a lot about lately in terms of netprov and its relationship to role playing and things like that. And of course we frame this as a role play as well. So very good.
Yeah,
Very good.
wonderful, wonderful,
Thank you.
wonderful.
And Luke, did you want to share one? Or it could be one of your other prompts too as well.
Oh, sure thing. Yeah.
Is yours in the grand exhibition yet, or should we pull one up from another one of the forums or one of the other channels?
Yeah, it should be in there. Yeah, Jack Dubois right
There
there.
is Jack Dubois. Okay, there we go. Perfect. Go ahead.
Awesome. Okay, so my prompt is: beyond the creek, my father warns me not to pass. Exists metal beings of curve and crease on black wheels. Larger than the bear, they grumble as they move down the path, leaving a scent of permanence as they go. I watched as each one, different in appearance from the last, but each had eyes that would glow bright white and tails that glowed a soft red. It was then that I questioned my father, warned me not to go past the creek. These were focused beings. They wanted nothing to do with me. Then I came to the realization, controlling these beings were others like me.
Oh, nice.
Wow, that's super cool.
Oh my goodness.
And again, I just, in my mind, I see the AI brain just going.
For frying, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
this jams the machine entirely. All right, let's hear your artist statement.
For sure. Okay, so this prompt shows a major change in perspective that occurred in my life. I had always thought that I was alone as a human in this world because we were the only two like us that I have come across. Knowing that people like me controlled the metal beasts, I know now that there is a whole world out there to be understood and observed. I'm not an imposter, and I am not alone. I have simply not discovered what exists around me. I can't wait to write poetry about those others.
Nice,
So beautiful. So
All
beautiful.
right. So Luke, tell us a little bit about Jack Dubois.
Of course, yeah, I probably should have started with that.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, Jack Dubois is he's basically a character that I created, and his entire life he's lived in this forest with only his dad. And they kind of like live in this cabin. And so the only humans he's seen is himself and his dad. And his dad has only one rule for him: never to go past the creek. And for the longest time, he's always want to go past it because he hears these like weird noises, and he's heard of these like metal beings and different things like that drive through. And so he's always wanted to explore that. And his dad also goes on frequent trips, leaving him behind, and he takes some of his poetry with him. But when he comes back with blue ribbons that say #1 digital art fair. And and so he's trying to piece this all together.
I love it.
That's
I love it.
great.
I love the plot. I love the richness. Now,
Yeah.
Rob, I'd be remiss if I didn't ask if you want to share one of yours.
Well, thank you. Let me see. I think in those daily prompts,
Okay.
there's a couple short ones. I tried unimaginable.
Okay.
I think I have a couple things in there.
We got a couple one here back to
so
back.
there was a review. If you type on, I'll read a review. If you go to Biscuit's thing that I review up above, like
oh, right here, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not gonna do that. Sorry, did I got threading is always a challenge for me. Here we go. This should do it. Yeah. Do you want to read?
Okay.
Should we read? You want to read Biscuits first?
Yeah, I won't read the whole thing, but he says, imagine the Grand Exposition has just come to an end and we are all busy with tear down, packing the index cards, holding our prompts into boxes for shipping back home, and sharing stories about how members of the public responded to our prompts. Afterwards, a few of us stick around and then end up at a cafe just off the main strip, the rumble of bass from a nearby club mixing with the traffic sounds. We talk about MJ, flamingos, and dark machinery rumbling somewhere in the forest, speculating whether that really was Loab, who we glimpsed in the crowd during the opening, what people thought of the blank index card representing nothing, and how unimaginable it would have been a year ago to be sitting here unmasked and in the open as successful prompters. In the style of Monet, not an original, but a copy that I bought during my undergraduate days and hung on the wall of my dorm room, trying to look like I appreciate art.
I love
I
it.
wa-
And we
So
should give
that's like, that's 2 levels there, right? So that's a
Right.
meta level. And then here's the 3rd meta level. I wondered whether this space should be deliberately left blank in light of the theme, but it seemed like a good fit, which that whole thing I just think is
I love it. And
so
so
brilliant.
couple of background things people might need to know in the future. MJ, of course, stands for Midjourney here, the Midjourney bot who's been personified. And LOAB, if I feel like the crew could help me out here, I believe that's a mysterious figure that people have been creating using Midjourney when you just put things like sad. I don't know if that's the one that I'm thinking of, but
Oh, okay.
I believe that's the context for that one. But let's get your review.
So I wrote a review. My character, Cyberbio, who is a kind of an emo, a heartfelt, poety young person, Cyberbio wrote this. Here I thought I was getting to the end, I'll say toward the end of the grand exposition without getting all last day of camp. I was too cool and withdrawn at first, but now I've made some incredible friends and I have had some life peak experiences and I'm all weepstery about it. Then I went and read Biscuit's magnificent Imagine the Grand Exposition has just come to an end prompt and I lost it. Just covers eyes and waves you away with hand. Lost it.
Love it. I love it. I love it. Just the sheer emotion and the most number of hyphens ever. I love it. All right, and now I'll read an arbitrary one of mine.
Yes,
just to,
do.
so I could feel like, so I could join the club. So my character is Ace, who's based on my dog Ace, who's an actual dog. Let's see, which one do I want to do? And again, a couple other people I want to give shout outs to. Again, one of them that's really extraordinary from the featured players was Patrick Lichty, who's a
Yes.
is really well established artist in his own right, who's really mastered, I think, generating images through Midjourney. And so you'll see that even in the context of him following our rules of not trying to create art through the generation, but worrying about the prompt, he's able to cue the machine in really wonderful ways. Okay, so I'll give this one. Imagine, if you will, a world where humans were treated like pets, where some dog made sure they got good walks in, where some cat made sure they had enough to eat and drink, where some parrot raised its pitch and smiled. Do parrots smile whenever it offered them a treat? Or even if humans were to care for one another the way they care for us pets? What a world. What a sweet world that would be. 4K, dreamy lighting, Fido.
I love that. Well, and tell us about the Ace character. So
Ace really just from his origins was in Fido, wanted to see if he could since a lot of people were making dogs and their pets into art, he wanted to be he was the pet who wanted to be an artist. And again, in the context, really started to feel bad for humans. Like the more he reflected on it, the more he felt like that they're just sort of mistreated, and the more he thought that this model of like the way we treat our pets is perhaps just, again, far more humane, or maybe we need another word, like petane is might be a little better. So anyway, that was great. A lot of his journey. Okay, so I do want to end us before the hour, and I have one more thing to share, which is, of course, a final toast that I forgot to write. So I'm just gonna see if one more time our friend GPT-3 could generate something for us. And here it is. To the conclusion of the first night of the opening of the grand exhibition of prompts, may the wine be plentiful and the cheese never ending.
There we go.
And as they say in France, vive la différence.
Yes. Splendid. Yeah, don't try to drink cheese. Don't try to chew wine.
And that's all for us today. Oh wait, Rob, you had something else you were saying. I want to cut you off. You got last. Okay. All right. Anyway, thank you all. Thanks to all of our artists. And also you can continue to play in the grand exhibition of prompts. In fact, it's going to be incorporated into the iKids conference, which is happening this weekend. Rob's going to run a workshop on Sunday. And so there'll be more people coming in, more artists, more thinkers, more players. And of course, Discord, shouldn't be dying anytime soon, we hope. And so continue to play on.
Really nice work, you all.